What's up, my people? The Ultimate Universe has produced some of Marvel's most compelling stories since they brought it back early last year, and Ultimate Wolverine, which is the most recent title, has been equally dope. So today we're jumping back into it with issues 3 through 5 of the series, where Ultimate Sabretooth makes his glorious return, and we learn how the Directorate is keeping Logan under control. For those of you who are new to the series, we've already covered issues 1 and 2 in these episodes right here, so give those a watch if you want to be brought fully up to speed first. Otherwise, let's get into it. Ultimate Wolverine issue 3 starts off 17 miles outside of Smolensk, where we see a woman in the cold waiting at what looks like a bus stop. A car then pulls up and 2 people get out, with the first being Gambit, who in this universe wears an eye patch, and the other is Pryde, aka Kitty Pryde. Gambit asks the woman, "You know the time, yeah?" The woman at the bus stop then responds, "It's the day of battle," to which he replies, "Ain't it always?" Kitty Pryde then chimes in and asks, "And who sent you here?" The woman responds, "The Archangel. I escaped Republic control and was recruited outside Warsaw. I want to fight." But Gambit then says, not to question his choices, but I need me a driver. The last one got killed in a raid. Don't need more combat boots, so. But Kitty Pryde interrupts Gambit saying, "Stop it. We need all the help we can get. But yeah, can you drive?" The woman then removes her hood to reveal that it's Natasha Romanova, aka the Black Widow in the Ultimate Universe, and she answers, "Yes, I can do many things." So on the first 3 pages of this issue, they've already introduced Ultimate Gambit, Kitty Pryde, and Black Widow, and revealed that they are all part of the Resistance, so to speak. Or at least Black Widow is trying to be. Anyway, from here the issue takes us to an abandoned sewer tunnel network beneath Smolensk. We see the Republic has the Winter Soldier sniffing out the Resistance, with several men from the Republic following. Elsewhere, we see the Republic general give a speech saying, "In a raid last week, we successfully eliminated an opposition vehicle en route to Rasputingrad. However, Remy LeBeau and Catherine Pryde, our targets, survived. Only the driver was killed. The man LeBeau was responsible for the Mikhail massacre last spring that took the life of leader Mikhail Rasputin. This past month, we've also lost a prized possession of the Republic, Natasha Romanova. We believe she may be with the opposition. Reliable intelligence suggests that LeBeau, Pryde, and Romanova are at a nearby opposition base. This is why we have assembled you, the Republic's finest, to go in and destroy their operations." We are then taken back to the sewer tunnel, where we see the Winter Soldier still trying to track them down. One of the soldiers following behind him says, "Did you get one of these too? Adamantium bullets?" To which the other soldier responds, "Oh yeah, we all got them, just in case." Which means they're there for the protection of the soldiers in case the Winter Soldier turns on them. Anyway, the Winter Soldier suddenly stops as he sees these glowing lights at the end of the tunnel ahead. One of the soldiers with him then uses his infrared goggles and says, "Those are chess pieces. Chess pieces lining the tunnel. Queens, all queens. Why are they glowing?" But they don't have to guess long, because the Winter Soldier just picks up one of the soldiers and throws him toward the glowing chess pieces. And when he lands next to them, they explode, reducing the soldier to nothing but a skeleton. Which of course means that Gambit is nearby, and on the next panel we see Gambit, Pryde, and Black Widow as they hear the explosion. Kitty Pryde then asks, "What was that?" Gambit then tells her, "The mines. Badman's here. Those mines will slow them down, but we gotta get moving, like yesterday." Kitty responds, "Copy. Natasha, get the truck started. We're leaving now." Natasha responds, "On it." And Kitty then tells Gambit, "You stay up front. Do you know where to go? I'll get us lost going 5 feet in any direction." So Gambit asks her, "You'll be okay?" And she replies, "Come on, I always slip on through," as she phases through the truck doors. Gambit just laughs, but the interaction between the two lets on that these two are an item in this universe. Anyway, we then see that Black Widow can't seem to get the truck started, so Gambit tells his men, "Cover the door and give me guns." He then asks, "What do we have coming?" And they see on the monitor it's just one man. But that one man is the Winter Soldier, and Gambit says, "He's got knives? This don't feel good. Man, why ain't the truck moving?" And as he says that, the Winter Soldier's claws come slashing through their vault doors. We see that Black Widow is still trying to get the truck started, but at this point, the Winter Soldier is able to cut his way through as he starts tearing through all of Gambit's men. Gambit then says, "What big claws you have." At that moment, Black Widow is finally able to get the truck started and peels out, driving away with Gambit hanging off the side as he throws playing cards at the Winter Soldier, which temporarily slows him down. Gambit then uses the opportunity to get back into the truck as Black Widow says, "That was close," and Gambit responds, "Too close. Knew a guy with claws like that once. Bone instead. Dead now, but used to give me the Frisians." However, unbeknownst to Gambit, the Winter Soldier went into full sprint mode and has caught up to the truck and is now just hanging off the back. He then uses one of his claws to pick the lock on the back of the truck and opens up the gate, where we see Kitty Pryde protecting children they're trying to bring to safety. She looks at the Winter Soldier and says, "The Rasputins have no right to these children. They are..." But before she can finish that sentence, he ejects his claws and shock comes over Kitty's face as she says, "Oh my God, Logan." She then screams to the kids, "Down on the ground, everyone. while Logan lunges at her with his claws, but she just phases right through his arm, saying, "Logan, stop. If that's you, I don't know what happened to you, but if it is, why don't you remember me?" We then see that she's able to phase her hand right through his head while she asks him, "Why don't you remember?" And this forces Logan to have a series of flashbacks of his life before the Republic brainwashed him. He then falls to the ground in pain, with Pryde taking the opportunity to kick him off the truck, saying, "I'm sorry, till we meet again." We then see him rolling and tumbling down the snowy road with his mask coming off as he hears, "Logan, why don't you remember?" echoing in his head. Then the issue comes to an end with a close-up of his face as you can see he's slowly starting to remember. And I just gotta say, that was a completely amazing issue, but we're not done. We've got 2 more issues to go, so let's jump into issue 4. Now, 90% of Ultimate Wolverine issue 4 takes place inside the Winter Soldier's or Wolverine's coma fantasy, as we see visions of him making his way through a snowy forest while also embodying a black wolf. And throughout the panels, we get narration from all the scientists who found his body on the road and are currently working on him, saying, "His eyes, where are the guards? Aren't we supposed to have guards? I've never seen him like this before. Is he hurt? It sounds like he's in pain. Can we get sedation? He's pumped full of enough sedative to knock King Kong off his feet. We need guards. Where is Dr. Prostovich? Look at the heart rate. He's gonna go into cardiac arrest. Why is he staring at me? Get him out of the chamber." All of this narration goes on for pretty much the entire issue, as the scientists are clearly trying to stabilize Wolverine after what Kitty Pryde did to his brain. But while we're getting all this back and forth between them while they're trying to contain and sedate Wolverine, we see inside his coma fantasy yet again where Wolverine is now fighting a polar bear, which, if I had to guess, is a foreshadowing of Wolverine's confrontation with Sabretooth. In fact, there's even a panel of the black wolf and the polar bear fighting that creates a yin-yang symbol. No doubt symbolism for Wolverine and Sabretooth being forever tangled with one another on polar opposite sides. But finally, toward the end of the issue, we're returned into the lab where all the scientists were working on Wolverine, and it's a bloody massacre as we see that he has killed almost everyone in the room. We're talking decapitated heads, limbs, everything. Dr. Prostovich then says the magic word, and Wolverine automatically stops, and she tells him, "Good. Very good." She then tells the guards to chain his hands, and one of the guards says, "Are you sure that's a good idea?" She then tells him, "Do as I say," to which he responds, "Yes, doctor," with her replying, "Quickly now." We then see the guards go to chain Wolverine, and as they do, Wolverine retracts his claws back into his forearms. The doctor then says, "Come, follow me." We then see Sergei say, "What happened? I was under the impression that the Winter Soldier was controlled." To which Dr. Prostovich answers, "Something happened on the last mission. Something in his brain. Maybe a chip got fried. Either way, we need to reestablish control. It cannot survive another." But Sergei says, "Control? Doctor, the sedatives do nothing. He's wild." But Prostovich replies, "I'm talking about her. It's never been one point of control, but 3. Sedatives, re-education, and manipulation, and telepathy. One levee breaks, another holds. Whatever tether is still there, we must have her reinforce it." Sergei asks, "Doctor, if you're talking about who I think you're talking about, this must be sanctioned." Prostovich then replies, "I will ask for forgiveness later," as we see her put in passwords to make her way down to a secret location. Sergei then tells her, "A tight enclosed space deep beneath the earth with this monster? What could possibly go wrong?" As we see they're taking Wolverine to a giant sphere known as the Cerebellum, which is this universe's version of Cerebro. And as they're walking Wolverine inside, Sergei continues to say, "I've never been this deep inside the Kremlin." To which Dr. Prostovich responds, "Be glad you haven't. Good things do not happen here, Sergei. Not at the center of the Earth." And again, they're saying all this as they make their way into the Cerebellum, which honestly looks a lot like Spaceship Earth at Epcot. But it is indeed the Russian version of Cerebro. Anyway, when the doctors walk inside, Prostovich says, "Here's the solution to your problem, Winter Soldier. Whatever you did out there nearly severed our link, but we can fix that. She can fix that. The Phoenix specimen, she will fix your broken mind." And on the next page, we see that they have Jean Grey, who is imbued with the Phoenix Force, suspended inside the Cerebellum with a brain connected to her from above. And with that, the issue comes to a close, but we have one more issue to go. So Ultimate Wolverine issue 5 starts off in Rasputingrad of the Eurasian Republic, and we see men leaving a bar with one of them saying, "Good night, Mr. Big Man," to which the bar owner replies, "Good night, thank you, come back again tomorrow." He then closes and locks the bar door, and as we're brought inside the bar, we see that this is clearly Victor Creed, aka Sabretooth, as he's putting up the bar stools. He then lifts a floorboard to reveal 2 mutant kids hiding underneath, and he tells them, The driver will be here soon. Come, took the liberty of making you food. I recommend you eat up. It'll be a long ride. No stops till you're clear of the border. But this should last you. Hearty soup, good for the soul, they say. But they also say a lot of things. On the next panel, we see these mutant kids just attack the bowls of soup as Victor goes on to say, I'm just sorry we couldn't save more of you. What a fiasco that was at the camp. You can try to plan, but, well, anyhow, seeing what you've been through and all the kindness you've shown to me, listening to my stories from before, I made you something special. This is something from the old days, a real delicacy they call a Shirley Temple. Only had enough for one, but we then see that the two mutant kids don't even hesitate and start downing the Shirley Temple as Victor continues to say, enjoy, fellas. One of the kids, whose name is Leech, then thanks Victor, to which Victor replies, sure, kid. But the other kid, Artie, then uses his telepathy to tell Victor that he wants to hear another one of his stories. So Victor tells him, you want to hear another story about me and Logan? Maybe. I got a few of those to pick from. You'd like to hear the Siberian prison escape again, I bet. But first, I gotta take out the trash. Then as we see Victor go to take the trash out, he sees a military plane fly in overhead and runs back inside saying, Artie, Leech, get back under the floor. Military planes overhead. Might be scanning. Shielding will hide you from view, but we gotta be quick. But the kids are still caught up drinking the Shirley Temple, so he tries to physically stash them under the floorboards himself. But as he's attempting to do so, he hears someone trying to get into the front door. So he tells the kids to stay quiet as he makes his way to the front door and opens it to look outside, only to see it was a homeless drunk man trying to get in, not realizing the bar was closed. Relieved, Victor closes the door and locks it, but he then starts smelling a familiar scent, at which point he says, you. So the rumors are true. Back from the dead, Logan? As he looks up and sees Logan waiting for him in the corner of his bar. Victor then continues to say, smells off. Something about you changed. Smells almost rotten. But Logan just stares as Victor goes on, maybe you are really dead. No, not dead, but you ain't yourself, are you? Then, as you might expect, things start to go south as Logan extends his claws and Victor says, well, well, well. I'd say not yourself at all. Then on the next panel, Logan just leaps toward Victor and Victor catches him in the air saying, I know Logan, and I know Logan would be too smart to try that on me. You're him, but you're not him. An empty vessel. Butchers. They messed with your brain, didn't they? They took their little fingers and tools and poked and pulled just like they did with... But before he could finish that point, Logan chops off Sabretooth's arm. However, this is Sabretooth, and he arguably has a better healing factor than Wolverine himself. So by the time Wolverine jumps in the air to strike Victor again, we already see Sabretooth's arm starting to grow back. It's just covered in blood and tendons. The two then continue to fight in the bar as Victor has flashbacks of when the two were partners back in the day. We see them drinking by a fire with Logan saying to Victor, I want you to promise me one thing if they ever capture me. But Victor interrupts saying, they ain't gonna capture you, small stuff. To which Logan responds, would you listen? I'm being serious here, Creed. So Victor says, all right, go on then. So if they capture you. So Logan continues, I don't want to become one of their puppets. So I want you to promise me you'll kill me. Victor then responds, tall order coming from a fellow with a healing factor that keeps death at arm's length. But Logan responds, I know it. We both got it. But even still, I want you to promise me that. Find a way. Make it happen. Make it permanent. We've seen what they've done, Creed. We know what they make us do to the folks we fought side by side with, died with. I ain't gonna walk away from this fire until I know that I've got your word. I've been fighting with you long enough. I know you're good for it. You're bonded to your word, and I wanna know you'll do it. Victor then pauses and says, well, if you want it, it's a deal. But it ain't gonna happen. We then jump back into the present where the two are continuing to battle it out, and Victor is throwing Logan around as Logan is stabbing Victor repeatedly with his claws. But the entire fight turns out to be an example of what happens when an immovable object meets an unstoppable force, as they both have amazing healing factors and they just keep healing from the wounds they're inflicting on each other. For example, Victor's arm has already completely grown back and looks normal again. But Victor manages to pin Logan onto the ground and he tells him, if I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna look you in your face when I do it. He then rips his Winter Soldier mask off and says, there, let's see that face. But Logan quickly retaliates and bites Victor in the neck, ripping a chunk of his throat out and spits it on the floor. This leaves the two, particularly Victor, worn out, and Logan starts to walk toward him to finish the job. But before he gets a chance to do so, we see Black Widow kick in the bar door, as she is the one that Gambit and Kitty Pryde sent to bring the mutant kids to safety. Logan then turns around and snarls at her, but she just uses her Black Widow bites to shoot tranquilizers at Logan. She then kicks him as the tranquilizers kick in, and he falls unconscious. We then see Black Widow walk over to the kids who come up from the floorboards as she says, your ride's here. Victor then tells Black Widow, don't get it, he's out. His healing factor ain't kicking in? The mutant kid Leech then speaks up, and we learn that he has the ability to suppress or dampen mutant powers, which he is doing with Wolverine's healing factor. Anyway, Victor then picks up Logan's unconscious body and tells Black Widow, "I'll ride with you, new girl." To which she responds, "My name is Natasha, and I can handle myself." But he tells her, "No doubt, but I know the route, and well, I want to see everyone's face when this guy comes through the door." And with that, issue 5 comes to an end. Honestly, guys, this series is absolutely amazing so far, and the concept of Wolverine as the Winter Soldier is such a great spin on the character that adds so much new depth. Writer Chris Condon has also done a great job of slowly introducing new mutants into the mix, most notably that insane reveal that they're using a sedated Jean Grey with the Phoenix Force to keep Logan under control. It is going to be wild when she finally breaks free and unleashes on the Directorate. It also seems like it's just a matter of time before the brainwashing on Logan wears off, as we're already starting to see cracks in the dam here and there. Anyway, what do you guys think of this ultimate take on Wolverine so far? Let us know down in the comments. Other than that, we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.